Hello friends, and we have week 7 of the NPL. We are up against Matty Brolic. I just dropped my chair down a bit. Um, let's just jump into sort of matchup. You'll see on Matty's setup, he has some pink names. He has a new Keldeo, and he has a new Mimikyu. The Azelf is kind of important, but ultimately doesn't matter. He dropped Raikou and Azumarill, 2 months that I didn't really have any trouble prepping for, like when I was doing my preliminary stuff, and then I find out he made some ad drops, and these 2 months were absolutely terrifying against my team for a few reasons. Surprisingly, in my mocks, only one Keldeo showed up, and I was really confused because I thought Keldeo had a really good matchup, despite me having all these checks for it, like Decidueye and Cresselia and Primarina and XYZ, blah blah blah. I think it had a really great matchup, and it was a really strong fighting type and a great way to kill Kangaskhan. So I was expecting Keldeo. I don't know if Matty was, but I'm going to sorry, the music was really loud in my ear. I'm just going to go over my team real quick and just sort of flash them by. We have a Mental Herb, Skarmory, Mental Herb to stop him from bringing Taunt, because I know Matty likes to bring Taunt. Rocks, because Rocks are very important in the matchup. Defog, because I was losing a lot to T-Spikes, and I decided to bring Defog to sort of make sure that didn't happen. Iron Head to hit Mimikyu, and I believe something else, and just not be Taunt bait for like the second Taunt. And then Whirlwind for just general setup nonsense, like Rock Polish Celesteela or whatever it is, Autotomize, and SD Mimikyu, and CM Keldeo, whatever. Up next is Life Orb Jolteon. It was Specs at one point, but it's a Life Orb right now. Kind of bulky, just to live random hits if need be, but it's mostly because I didn't need the speed for anything. General Stab and T-Bolt, Volt Switch, Shadow Ball, because it hits everything else, because if you notice, he has no real, like, Ghost. He has 2 Dark Resists in Keldeo and T-Tar, and I'm expecting at the very least one of them to come, but likely both is possible. I have Heal Bell as the last move because I have a Curse Rest Kangaskhan, very Spadef invested, and barring Keldeo, this thing kind of just sits in front of his team. If he brings like a really fat team, like Mega T-Tar and Delmise, and like, just, I don't know, SD Dual Stab Mimikyu, Licky, Nidoking, all this sort of stuff that he could bring. I really think this music's kind of loud, so I'm going to drop that down a bit. But this thing does a lot of work, and I think it was like Aster or something who mentioned it in a call. He was like, why don't you bring like fat Curse Kang against Matty? How does he break that? And I was like, you know what, Aster, I'll give it a shot for you. And it was doing alright in mocks. And if it wasn't Aster, I'm sorry. Just say who it was down below if you watch my stuff. But anyway, I have Rest there and Heal Bell on the Jolteon so that I could wake it up. And just for general things like if I get rid of T-Spikes and I want to heal up my Poison Mons, I have the Heal Bell on the Jolteon to then do that. I guess now that I have my sort of like pivots and wall core down, let me go into the sort of breakers and win cons of the team. We have a Kibiberry Primarina because answering a Nidoking was actually impossible. Dual Stab, Sing, Encore for setup mons like Calm Mind or Sub Keldeo. Sing to catch things that tried to get behind a sub in front of my Primarina. I debated Sparkling Aria, but it was kind of worthless. Because it was only really for things that would resist water anyway, like Keldeo or Latios. And Sing is also a sound move, so it goes through that. It also gives me a move that actually does something to a Celesteela. I was very afraid of Celesteela sort of leech seeding me or like autotomizing in front of me, and I couldn't really do anything about it because encoring would just keep making it faster, and it's fat. Prim doesn't really get a move that does a ton of damage to a Celesteela, aside from like Specs Hydro or something. But yeah, modest max special attack because, yeah, of course. This defense investment, I forget what it was for. I think it was for spec secret swords, modest spec secret swords even. And yeah, I'm just saying yeah repeatedly. Up next is Life Orb Gren. Like I said, he has no real dark resist, so Life Orb Gren plus Scarf Incineroar do a ton to him with Dark Stab. And it really pressures his mons, especially Keldeo. I'm hoping Keldeo's not Scarfed if it comes, and if it doesn't come, then like Scarf Incineroar kind of just goes in on his team. Life Orb Gren, on the other hand, Dark Pulse does a lot. Low Kick is good for, oh my god, Low Kick is good for Mega T-Tar and Licky Licky. It does decent damage to them. Shuriken for general stab, and I did it again for things like priority moves. And last but not least is Spikes, and I did it a third time because I'm a fucking idiot. But anyway, we are going to hide those. Spikes is for general, like if I get a free turn with Gren and I could whittle down things like Keldeo or Nidoking or Licky Licky and put them in range of Shuriken or random moves that I have, that would be fantastic. So we're going to hide the team builder, and we have here the matchup. As you can see, he brings the Mimikyu, the Licky Licky, Keldeo, Nidoking, Latios, Celesteela. Celesteela I'm expecting either a defensive set or a autonomized set. Either one works. Both are very good. I'm expecting maybe a Z move on it. Mimikyu I'm expecting SD dual stab, potentially Drain Punch, but Drain Punch from a Mimikyu does like fuck all. Sorry for the language, but it actually does zero coming from somebody who's had a Mimikyu. So I personally wouldn't run it, but I'm not putting it against a like an SD Mimikyu to have Drain Punch to help it hit Kang. Licky Licky I'm expecting Spadef. I didn't even think it would come, but it came to a couple mocks, and I was kind of surprised by that, so I wasn't really surprised to see it. Keldeo I was kind of frustrated to see. I was really hoping it wouldn't come, but I figured, alright, he might be Scarfed, he might not be. I think Life Orb or like a sub-CM set does very well here, so I could see that being his bring. But Scarf to guarantee beat Greninja, it also seems very likely, and to beat things like Jolteon. Nidoking, I expected T-Spikes, maybe Sash Lead or something. I didn't know what to expect from the Nidoking, I just knew that it fisted my team if it was offensive. And then Latios, I didn't know what to expect. I figured Scarf, Specs, Calm Mind was possible, maybe a bulky set. I just wasn't sure. So we're going to lead off with the Primarina because it has the best matchup against the Nidoking, which is what I expect to be his lead. As I do lead with the Prim and he does lead with the Nidoking, I'm just going to Scald, and unfortunately I get a crit here, but this does tell me that it's almost a max HP Latios, which based on the fact that it recovered with leftovers and it's a Latios and super bulky, that Skull crit didn't do anything. I didn't offer a restart because if we restarted and then I got a burn, we would have to redo it again, and it just didn't seem like a huge enough deal for me to warrant offering a restart. Here I Moonblast and I crit the Licky Licky, but I know Licky's going to get free turns in front of me anyway. And based on the Moonblast damage, it looked like, and based on what I got on the rolls, it looked like Moonblast was a 3-hit KO regardless, so he would have to wish up anyway. Or then I would get Skull Burns or something, or like it. I don't know. It just didn't seem amazingly worthwhile. So I Scald here, just to sort of fish for anything I can get. I figured he'd stay in and wish, and I knew Moonblast wasn't going to kill anyway, so I just Scald to get potential burn or do whatever as he wishes up. And I didn't want him wishing into anything like Nidoking or Mimikyu or Celesteela or anything. I wanted to get a burn on whatever wanted to come in, so I just Scald again, and I managed to catch a burn on the Licky Licky, which is I'm indifferent about. It negates the leftovers, which is nice, and I get S-tossed, so whatever. Here I think I switch out into my Kangaskhan to sort of force him into making a play as he wishes, and I get to go for a Curse, expecting the Keldeo to switch in this turn, or the Celesteela. And I debated I debated cursing again because I was out of range of any sort of hit that Keldeo could go for, but in case he was like Specs Focus Blast, I would need to Drain Punch there to sort of to live, to not just lose there. So rather than risk it, I just decided to Drain Punch, risk cursing again. I decided to Drain Punch, and in comes the Celesteela. And here I wanted to see what kind of Celesteela it was, and I saw that it was basically Fizz Def from the damage. I'm just gonna Crunch to try and either get a defense drop or catch him switching. I debated cursing again, but I didn't want him like setting up or like Z moving me, and that would be really annoying. I make a double into my Incineroar for a couple reasons. I expected either Protect or him to double out into something else, potentially Keldeo or potentially Nidoking or Mimikyu or something. I expected him to not click Earthquake or anything silly like that, or maybe even to catch a Z move on that turn, because a defensive Z move Selly would do a decent chunk of damage with like Z Flash Cannon or Z Superpower or whatever. But I end up catching his Latios, which is really nice for me. Cat was just a good mid-ground play, and here I get to click a very free U-turn as the Keldeo comes in. He gets to see that I'm Jolly and possibly Scarf. I get a nice turn into my Primarina as I Moonblast, and I crit this too, but it ultimately doesn't matter because it didn't matter what move he went for. It didn't matter how a non-crit Moonblast into a Scald would 100% kill a Nidoking, based on the spread that he told me after the game, so that's kind of whatever. In comes this. I don't want to risk taking a ton of damage and Leech Seed, and so I go into my Skarmory. I figure I want to trade Rocks, or at the very least Defog. I figured getting Rocks up was more important than defogging, because I didn't think I'd get 2 turns with my Skarmory. So here I realize that I'm faster, and I just click Rocks, and here I'm like, alright, I don't want him to go into make any sort of weird play, and he could just click Protect, and I lose my my Skarmory. So I'm just gonna click Whirlwind in case he wants to double out or something like that. I just click Thunderbolt and bluff that I am, and I click it again. I'm not bluffing anything because I reveal Life Orb damage, and here I just Shadow Ball. As he does catch me, I debated T-bolting again, but I didn't want to risk it, and I didn't want to risk him staying in and like murdering me. Was basically it. I go hard into my Kangaskhan, and I made that play because I knew I can go into my Kang. I curse here because I figured he might be like Heal Bell or Toxic, and I didn't know which one he was yet. I figured it would be Toxic, but I just wanted to make sure, and I knew I had Rest, so it didn't really matter. I debated cursing again on that turn because no, I debated cursing again because I figured, oh my god, what am I doing? I debated cursing here because Protect was really obvious to rack up toxic damage, but I Drain Punch to not let him get another free switch into Keldeo, which was very annoying because I am in range of a Secret Sword if I did, or a Focus Blast, or a Hydro Pump even, at this point, if I did curse. So, in comes the Latios. I am going to read Latios or Mimikyu coming in, and I just go for a hard crunch. I knew that it wouldn't kill the Licky Licky, but I knew he wasn't going to stay in. And here I choose to sack my Kangaskhan because it did its job. It killed some fat things. It kind of pressured his other stuff. I bring in the Prim. I also sacked my Kangaskhan because I didn't have a Keldeo switch in at this point, and Prim is getting really low. In comes the Celesteela as I Moonblast, and here Moonblast is going to do 5. Scald is going to do equally 5 and get a burn damage, which he will just heal up with Leech Seed anyway. I'm faster, or I should be anyway. So Encore makes no sense on this Celesteela, so the only move I can possibly click is saying I didn't expect it to hit or miss, but I knew that it was really my only option this turn. So I go for it, and we put the Celesteela to sleep, which is really useful for me, as it gives me a free turn to go into my Greninja. As he brings in Licky Licky, I sped it up a little bit. I'm going to low kick, as he's obviously going to wish. I reveal that I'm Life Orb, and because I'm not physical Greninja, that does not kill. But I do get to spike up here, and I do get to kill something with this Greninja as I low kick again. I was really afraid he'd go into Mimikyu, but thankfully he doesn't. Or I guess unfortunately he doesn't. I don't even know why I didn't Dark Pulse then, but I was afraid he might stay in, seeing that I was a special set. In comes the Keldeo. I know I could save this for torrent range later, as I opt into sacking my Jolteon, because from the way he's playing the Keldeo, it seems like it's Scarf, and that means I have very limited switch-ins now because of this Primarina. This Primarina can come in one time, and one time only. Thanks to the Spikes damage, I can Moonblast it here, and kill this Licky Licky. And yeah, so here I'm under the impression that I just lose, because if you look, oh god, yep, alright, I spoiled it, but Matty has to just click, if he has Drain Punch, he clicks Drain Punch here, and he wins regardless of what my play is. Because he Drain Punches as anything comes in. I can't switch in Incineroar on a Drain Punch, I just die. I die to Drain Punch plus Sneak. I can't switch into Greninja because I died to Drain Punch plus Sneak. So what happens then? So then I have to bring in my Primarina is the only thing that could then beat the Mimikyu then, or I have to sack the Primarina or whatever. But SD is such a nonsensical play. I guess it saves him differential, but it's super greedy because he hasn't seen my last move. So I could just sing, I could have Encore. Like, I feel like it's a really likely move on a Primarina, and it just seemed weird to me that he would click SD when I basically accepted that I was going to get 2-0'd or 1-0'd, and there was nothing I can do about it. I was at the very least going to get 1-0'd by this Keldeo, or this Keldeo wasn't Scarf, and he was going to try and go for the win with Mimikyu. And so that was sort of my read on the situation. I was like, Moonblast is going to do the same damage as Scald. Scald has a burn chance at least, so I can go for that in case he like doubles into Keldeo or something, expecting me to Encore or do something. I don't even know what. Like, expecting me to double out. He would double out into his Keldeo and catch me. Awesome, cool. But Scald and Moonblast do the same damage. Sing is useless because it can miss. Encore is useless because he's just attacking me and winning the game here. So I'm just going to click Scald and hope he chokes. As he does SD, I Scald and I do nail this burn. And because he didn't go for Drain Punch, and I see leftovers, I'm like, alright, so he SD'd. Does that mean he doesn't have Drain Punch? Because then that wouldn't make any sense why he would. And he goes for Shadow Claw here. I'm like, alright, so he doesn't have Drain Punch. He's Play Rough. So I'm just going to Flare Blitz, as I don't know what kind of roll that was. According to him, he lived 100%, but whatever. If he Drain Punched on the turn that Incineroar came in, he would get less health back, which would just make it easier for me, I guess. But whatever. That's besides the point. He reveals Drain Punch now, and that's kind of annoying for me. But it does mean that I have the game because of the burn damage. Like, instead of just winning outright and taking a 1-0, he SDs to try and get greedy and go for a 2-0, and unfortunately it bites him in the ass and he gets Scald burned and then never clicks Drain Punch anyway and ends up losing because of it. I'll have to watch his side to see like why he made the plays that he made, but it really didn't make any sense to me as to why he clicked SD there when he pretty much had the game if he attacked. But regardless, this is super nice for me, and like, it pretty much gives me playoff chances now, and that's super amazing. Yeah, unfortunately it did deny Matty his almost a guaranteed playoff chance, but I feel bad for all the ridiculousness that Primarina did, but at the same time I really needed this. I really needed a win. That was like, I didn't want to restart because I knew that if we just did same teams and the same plays happened, I would have lost 11 times out of 10. But Matty ended up making a play that I feel is a joke, but he got punished for getting greedy, essentially, and it lost him the game. Because he could have just drain punched, and if I stayed in, Mimikyu put Prim in range of Keldeo 100% of the time. If I switched out and he drain punched, the Mon died, and then tada. I don't know, but this video is already going on a really long time. Next week we're playing Merc, and currently we are 3-4 minus 11, so that's exciting. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.